Alright, we're back out here again. Probably not going to get much done today, but the next step's going to be to put the floorboard in. Now that I got all the motor in there in line. So I got some parts in here, and I scored this 56 Chevrolet dash. It's a pretty iconic hot rod dash. People are going to know this shape. I'll probably build aluminum plates, be able to put whatever gauges, whatever I want. Now the end, this dash is pretty roached. I guess it was in the swamp somewhere, so it's not going to hurt my feelings. It's not going to go anybody's show car anytime soon. But this edge here will probably have to be cut and reformed into the truck. And from setting it up there, I think I'm going to have to section something out of the middle and move it over so this lines up with the steering column. So both the ends that are already roached will come off. But and then this will all be plated over. But it'll have this dash in here that a lot of people are just going to recognize. I got a bid on eBay for both of these housings, and then I could at least have the chrome part instead of just having to make aluminum plates. But aluminum plate will be in there, it'll look just fine. So the width of it fits really pretty good in the So if we look at the width of it here, it really is the right length. But if we look at it from the column here, the column, that section needs to go over, and these ends are going to be wrong. So we'll section and really this like the heart, the tear shape of this is the part that we really want. It'll be easy to form, and it'll be pretty cool in there when I get it done. But we really need to get this floor done here. So the next step here on the floor is that I picked up this drive shaft safety loop off of Marketplace. I guess you really can't see it very good in there, can you? But I picked up this drive shaft safety loop here, and what it'll do is, if I ever throw the yoke, if the U-joint fails or the drive shaft fails, then it'll get caught in that safety loop. NHRA, IHRA says I need to be within 6 inches of where that U-joint ends, so like right here. But if I'm doing a big, I've actually had one of these save my life, or at least minimize injury and damage to my car, because I had one break at the drag strip and it just sit there, beat up the floorboard. So if I'm in a car show and I'm doing a gigantic smoky burnout and that front drive shaft gives out, instead of it puking the drive shaft out and hitting some little kid in the shins, it'll get caught inside the car. So before I can do this tunnel, the tunnel section there, I need to make a cross member and put that in. The bad part about this is the drive shaft, it's not long enough, so of course I gotta modify it. Everything I touch has to be modified. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this here and there, and we're gonna scoot it open and weld this to be big enough. Basically it's gonna be a square instead of this, and we'll move it out, and then we can fit the brackets and put it in the car. And then once that's done, I can start laying the floorboard in with the pieces that I bought. So we're going to work on the safety loop first. So we see the drive shaft here, the Dakota is it just won't work. And I have to use the yoke, same type yoke probably on the back side when I have this rebuilt. So instead of trying to have to make some special thing, or ask a special thing out of the guy who's going to build the drive shaft for me, we're going to open this up, make it wider before we put it in, and then it'll capture. If this front U-joint ever breaks, it'll capture it and throw it, and it'll just get caught in there and just do instead of becoming a giant, helicopter thing, just tearing the floorboard out and beating and maybe injuring me. So I'm gonna put this in now. I got lucky, guy. He had the same problem. He went to go put it in. He had a really cool car on Marketplace. He had a 70 split bumper Camaro. Now that is a super rare 1 year only car, and he'd put a Top Fuel Funny Car hat on there, which is like a $3,000 hat. He's got as much in just the top part of his intake is what I've gotten in my whole build. And he had a big block 454 and a blower on top there. So now we're talking another 10 grand. So, but he didn't know how to weld. He told me, he said he did all the paint and body work and everything, but he didn't know how to weld. So he sold this to me for $10. Now this is a Lakewood, so it should have cost me $50, but the only thing that had to happen was to be cut open and extended, which is what we're going to do. I had to drive an hour and a half each way to go get it, so I spent $20-$30 in fuel. So really, I about broke even. I mean, if you don't count my time, but I got it here, and I'm not waiting 3-4 days for it to show up, and it's not sitting in some guy's garage. And I got to meet that really cool guy with a split bumper 70 Camaro. I mean, that was just amazing car to, and I had a buddy who had one in high school. And those are great cars. The doors on them are real heavy, and they have door issues with the hinges. But other than that, I mean, that is an iconic car. So anyway, we're gonna do this now. All right, so I got my parts that I want to cut out. I want to open this up, and I'm gonna take the bolts out and weld this. I mean, it's mine. I do whatever I want with it. And then I'm gonna cut these two pieces, and I'm gonna add them in there, make this wider. And then it'll still capture it the way I want. So we gotta do some modifications to this, and then we can make the mounts in there. All right, I got this cut open. I want to get the pieces that I want. We'll put it in here. We'll put bevels in here so we can get a little better weld. And we'll weld all this and take the bolts out. Alright, I got the thing widened out, welded. I'm going to hit it with a grinder a little bit. Just make it a little prettier. And then we'll put her in the truck. Alright, I got her all ground and welded and cleaned up here. So I'm gonna stick it in the truck now. Alright, all the way in to the front of the face of my U-joint there, I'm at 6 inches. But really, when I go to do buy my drive shaft, I'll be 1 inch out. And that's from that radius. So whenever you measure a drive shaft, you move that out. They say 3/4, but I always measure 1. So I need to go back in a little bit there. So yeah, right about there, that's 1 inch. So whenever I go to measure my drive shaft, I'll hook the caps on the back and measure to the farthest point. So that'd be far this point to this point, right? So I'm measuring the same point on both sides, and that'll give me the center to center to tell the guy. But right now I'm, basically 5 to this face right there. I'm basically 5 inches. So that would pass NHRA Tech, IHRA Tech. This thing's never going to go down the drag strip or nothing like that, but what I'm doing is I'm going to weld this in solid. I got it, square in here. And see, there's 14 squares around here and I can't find one right now. Probably all on the other side. But this is square and measured. I'm going to take this out, weld that. And all my drag cars, I've never unbolted any of these. They've always been able to be unbolted, but I've never, ever unbolted one. So I'm just going to weld this one in. And then later on, if I decide that I want to have this unboltable, I'll put 2 angles down underneath and bolt it that way. And then I can have it come in and out. I can put the angles over here or there or whatever, but I've never ever... Now I have had, like I said earlier, I have had one of these save me, and it broke off here, and it makes a hell of a noise when it does it. It just sits there and beats around. But if this wasn't here, it could come and just tear floorboard out, and then you'll see them kink, and it'll just kick it out the side at people. Well, we don't want that. If I go being an idiot at a car show, I'd rather just brake and be like, well, we got to push it over, than and bounce around inside that hoop. And everybody laugh at me, but I didn't hurt nobody. So, also what I've done is pull this out all the way. It allows me to put a square on this edge and run it out and measure that this thing's actually in center with that, drive shaft, so I'll have the most room that I possibly can. I've already taken the bolts out. I've already made it bigger. But I'm going to weld this thing up and then weld it in the truck. And then I'll actually be at a point, once I get this in, to where I can start laying bracing. And because I'll know where that center of that tunnel is, I'll know where I want, all my tunnel. This is the last piece to put in. And I can start doing that stuff. The gas pedal that I bought should be here. I think they say Friday. I don't know, what is the day? Tuesday now? So it might show up tomorrow. I don't know. Well, I get that in, it'll help me lay out that edge for the floorboard and the firewall. So I'm gonna finish this now. I had a square right next to me the whole time. But what I'm able to do is put the square in here, and I can, with the longer square, I can run out here and measure this. Also, I can put the square here and make sure that those are square. I've already marked it. I've got an hour or two you don't see him work laying this stuff out. It looks easy, right? So I'm gonna get this all welded, and then I'm gonna put it in, and then I'm gonna weld it here. All right, so I got that thing all welded now. I'm gonna put it back in there and weld it in the truck. So safety loop. All right, so I got the safety loop welded in there. And now I can build the floorboard. Took me all night. Something nobody will ever see, but maybe drive shaft one day won't get thrown out, and nobody will get hurt. So that's where we are right now. Should be good to go. Not much to see or say about it, but so you can see where we are. Coming along, we're getting there, but slowly but surely. I had to put this in before I could build the floor. So kind of needed it, and she should work. All right, check back in.